So the first episode of Vigilantes just premiered, and we essentially know that it's like meant to fill the gap that My Hero will leave once season 8 is over. And it may have a different writer and animator, but it's still Studio Bones adapting it, so it should be well done, at the very least. So, how does the first episode compare? Well, it starts with a new narrator, Koichi Himawari, telling us about quirks and the original shiny baby that started it all. And of course, All Might's presence still has to be clear since he was still very active in this prequel story. But the tone is very different since the trio of the main characters are doing illegal work in the shadows. The opening song makes it obvious that despite their sketchy activities, the show will have the same uplifting feeling as My Hero Academia, with flashes of All Might, Eraserhead, Midnight, and even Tenya's brother all showing up. And if you're a fan of vigilante comics made by DC or Marvel, the opening pays homage to that aesthetic with bright colors and dark shadows as well as comic strip borders. It opens, not unlike with Deku's story, with a villain terrifying civilians while he munches on a motorcycle. And in the same vein, All Might appears first on the scene to stop the damage with his recognizable theme song. Everyone cheers and he smashes the villain into the ground. But the comic stylistic choices are back, making All Might feel even more like he should be in North American comics. Koichi, among the civilians, is also a huge fan of All Might and his accomplishments, just like Deku. But then he remembers he's late for work and rushes down the street, only to smash into some unsavory people. Despite having a quirk, unlike Deku, Koichi isn't good with confrontation in the same way and immediately grovels in true Japanese fashion. But that doesn't mean that he's willing to be kicked while he's kneeling down. So he uses his quirk to slide away and even causes the guy to fall backwards. So he rushes off while sliding to avoid a fight with them. That's when we find out that Present Mike has returned and he explains Koichi's quirk for us, which is a big plus. He's already in university and works part-time on the side. His quirk is called Slide and Glide, and it can only be activated when he's touching the ground with 3 points of contact. It's not very fast though, so cars and even some bikes could easily pass him. And it doesn't help that people he passes by all have comments on his quirk being kinda bad and comparing him to a cockroach. Next, we meet the idol wannabe Pop Step, performing on top of a lamppost to a fairly big crowd who even has signs to support her. And as much as she annoyed me in the manga, her song is actually pretty catchy and the crowd chants only to make it more fun. And while she's performing, illegally, Koichi has nothing but bad comments to make about her. Her songs aren't that memorable, it's a guerrilla gig, she's hiding her face, and so on and so forth. But at least he realizes that she's singing and bouncing her heart out, and that's worth something, I guess. But all he means is that he wishes that he had her quirk, not that she's a good performer. After being there too long, Koichi's almost late for work, but Pop Step watches him slide away from her gig, and as he's sliding through people, they barely notice him until they almost bump into him, which Koichi says is common since people don't look down very often, or below what they can see. A puddle takes him out of his first glide, and he ends up late to work, so his boss makes him pay for it. Unluckily for him, he works in a convenience store, and the same 3 dudes who had problems with him earlier are here now. They can't wait to beat him up for what he did, which honestly is like nothing. And the leader, just like Bakugo, is a hothead, and doesn't have anyone to keep him in check. Koichi's fine with taking a regular beating, but when the Spike quirk comes out, a smaller version of what I guess Wolverine has, things get serious. But it's just a ploy to keep Koichi from fighting back though. He doesn't use the spikes and eventually leaves, and the whole situation leaves a bad feeling for Koichi and a bad taste for us viewers. We're so used to seeing some kind of hero show up no matter the situation, but no one did this time. Koichi's expression makes it seem like he's going to hunt down criminals and beat them up Daredevil style, but instead he's just sliding around, helping everyone, and I guess trying to get positive vibes back into his life. Oh, and did I mention that he's an All Might fan? Of course I did, because everyone is. Well, the costume is inspired by him, so it's hard to miss. Just like Izuku, but more obvious with the coloring. But to be honest, with him giving people lost items and directions to bus stops, Koichi is more like a good deed man than a vigilante, I guess. Even though it's still, pretty much illegal for him to be using his quirk this much. And of course, everyone is very appreciative of him, having dubbed him Nice Guy. And when his mood is improved, he goes off for a drink and walks into Popstep, who's waiting for him. The meeting with her doesn't really go so well since she calls him Cockroach Man and makes fun of his All Might hoodie, two things that are clearly a big part of Koichi's life. And when she keeps pushing his buttons, Koichi warns her to be careful with her fake idol business or she'll be arrested. And now it's her turn to be irritated. Not the best first impressions all around, but when she goes to slap Koichi, the three villains from earlier back and get hit instead. How are they always around when it's like the worst moment? And how did no heroes catch them doing something bad yet? But anyway, rather than letting her go, the three losers pin her and talk to her about how she's a high schooler who poses half naked online for views and other insults. Koichi is still there, but not really doing anything yet, as she begins to cry from their threats. When they say his hoodie is lame, Koichi recovers his face and attacks, but his quirk doesn't do much, and he just gets thrown around. This time, the hot-headed villain decides that he's going to do more than just beat him up. He'll destroy the store he works at too, and that's when the real vigilante shows up, Knuckle Duster. He may not be as murderous as the Punisher, but he's certainly not gentle like the other two. And interesting thing about him is that he uses catchphrase similar to All Might's. It's not Watashi ga kita, but Ore ga iru, which is definitely a rougher way of saying the same thing. He calls himself a cleaner who takes out trash people, and that after falling on some garbage bags to soften his landing. He beats them up with just his brass knuckles while also looking for a specific villain. Afterwards, he compliments Koichi and offers to help him make a hero if they work together. Nice Guy pretends that he's not interested, but it's clear that he looks up to All Might and would love to be one. And when Popstep is threatened by the Spike villain, Koichi finally steps in and has his Deku moment. Knuckle Duster is there to finish off the villain after he tackles him, and with just his size and strength, he doesn't even need to use a quirk to take them down. The thing is, he scares the living crap out of Koichi when he mentions how fun it is to punch bad guys. So any feelings of wanting to do vigilante work together are chased away in an instant. Somehow, Knuckle Duster ends up at Koichi's place though, looking through his stuff and expecting to be called Master now. Just when we thought we were done with the Three Stooges, a shady person offers them something to help their injuries, but it looks more like a quirk enhancement drug. And right on cue, Knuckle Duster mentions it to Koichi. It's called Trigger, and turns regular quirks into monstrous ones. As we've seen in the previous episodes of My Hero Academia, I think it was introduced in Season 4 originally, he expects Koichi to help him find the source of it by checking villains' tongues, since it's a side effect of the drug. Knuckle Duster ends up with his sidekick, but Koichi's just there to make sure that he doesn't punch any and everyone he thinks is suspicious. Someone has to keep him in line, I guess, right? Popstep doesn't think much of Knuckle Duster either, since he saved her and then left her there in the lane. But when a poor office dude almost gets punched for having toy figures in his bag, Aizawa, as Eraserhead, steps in to bind Knuckle Duster. As the first episode goes, this one is pretty solid, and it has enough ties to the main series to keep us interested. Also, if you're a fan of Aizawa, he shows up a few times in this series, actually. But what happened to the three villains who took Trigger? I guess Koichi and pals will be facing them in episode 2. So guys, let me know what you thought about Vigilantes episode 1. I'm going to be covering the rest of this anime, and I'll be putting up other Vigilantes content throughout this season. So if you liked the video, guys, please give it a like, and please subscribe for more. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.